So, Graham, you and your wife, Nicole, have a restaurant called the Tallow Grill, which, not surprisingly, uses tallow instead of seed oils. So, why did you guys do that? What inspired you to probably be at one of the only restaurants to make that change?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it started with the same frustration that most of our customers have been feeling, right? It's this idea that we can't eat out anymore because everywhere, whether it's the cheap fast food drive-through or upscale sushi or steakhouse, uh, basically 100% of the time they're going to be cooking with seed oils. They're going to be cooking in plastic or using plastic cutting boards. Their meats, they're advertising. We proudly serve Harris Ranch beef, and it's like no thank you, it's disgusting, it's feedlots. And so there's all these different criteria that basically prevented us from eating out for 4 or 5 years. And we'd occasionally, I'm talking maybe 2 3 times a year, we'd go out to eat. And we got sick of it. We don't have any restaurant background experience, we're not restaurateurs. But it just basically got to the point where we were like, look, no one's doing it yet. We know the best way to do it. We think there's going to be people who try and do this, but they're going to do it kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and not go all the extra steps. Kind of like what you're seeing with Steak and Shake, right? They'll throw some tallow in the fryers and call it a day. But we understand that's not what we mean when we go seed oil free, right? There's all other steps, and so yeah, it was just frustrating because it's not only convenient to eat out, it's fun. And I think when we launched in October, like at our pop-up, that was one of the vibes that we just kind of forgot about. Just like how much fun people were having eating out. I mean, these people were thrilled. And yeah, it was just such a cool experience. So that's basically the genesis of why we started it.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it is fun. Like we are as a society, like we are linked to food for celebration, and that's just a part of what we do, and it's a part of like how to like gather. So yeah, not being able to go out to eat, it's and yeah, like the convenience that you said, like it's frustrating because I love food. I love to go out and eat. So you either have to just deal with the fact that they're probably using seed oils or, hey, can you use butter, this, that, and maybe they're not even doing it properly. And I just saw like there was a huge thing with Steak and Shake. Like, yes, they're using tallow, but then I just saw the other day that they are pre-cooking their fries in canola oil or whatever. So they're not even being honest about what they're doing.
Right. And this is what we talked about I was on the Club Maha podcast a few days ago. And that's what was on. They termed it tallow baiting, which I think is a good term. It's, you're just trying to capitalize off the movement. Now, nobody wants to be a hater. And regardless of their intentions, we can never really know their true intentions. We can infer, but, I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're leaning into it. They just put out a tweet finally kind of clarifying that, hey, this is a long-term process for us. They just announced they're going to switch. I forget what it was. They're going to switch something to butter in one of their recipes. I forget what, I think it was like they're switching out butter flavoring for real butter, which is awesome. It's awesome. So I think, the best thing that consumers can do is, when they do get excited about these things, that encourages businesses to switch because that's what Steak and Shake saw. They're like, oh, everybody's saying, I want tallow. I hate these seed oils. And they're like, I don't know what those are, but let's see, what can we get? Oh, here, let's order some tallow and let's say we RFK'd our fries, right? And kudos to them. But yeah, it's not the full step, even just on the seed oil front, let alone all the other, toxic things that are found in restaurants. And one of the ideas that was brought up when I was talking with Ian Carroll was this idea of, in the same way doctors are kind of what's the word, they're so separated and removed from what like true medicine and true healing should be and true health. It's the same way of kind of in the restaurant industry, right? These cooks, these chefs who should know more about food and proper food techniques and cooking techniques than the average consumer actually don't. And so I think it takes someone from, our movement, like myself, who doesn't come from the restaurant industry to come in and go, okay, how do I adapt the restaurant industry to what we need to see? And that's kind of been our approach. Because it is tough. Like Andrew Gruel on Twitter talks about it a lot, how, the restaurants kind of have one arm tied behind their back because all these distributors have, I mean, it's pretty bad how the distributors are set up, even just to get organic produce, which should be pretty ubiquitous nowadays. It's not easy, let alone if you're trying to be microplastic conscious, no gums, no natural flavors that aren't so natural, and all that stuff. It is difficult. So for us, it is going to be a long-term process, and we're not going to stop till like every little thing in the supply chain, from plastic lined aluminum cans, no matter what it is taken out.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I want to get into that in a second, but I first want to say it might be a good thing that you guys weren't in the restaurant industry, because maybe you wouldn't have done all this, because I come from a restaurant background and it is absolutely
Okay.
wild and insane. And I can't imagine like the hours you're going to be like putting into this thing. So maybe like in a way, like ignorance is bliss. Like you're truly coming at this from a place of passion and wanting to make your own changes, as opposed to someone that's like, oh, let's open up this restaurant to make money. Like, I'm going to butcher this quote, but it has to do with, you may know, like, the something with invention and like the necessity, like the best invention is something where because you actually like need it. I forget what the
Yeah,
quote
the
is.
best inspiration comes from necessity or something like
Something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you're spot on. I think you know, I always kind of joke with my friends, like, I'm not, although, I have a feeling this will turn out to be, massively successful and will probably generate a lot of wealth for myself that hopefully I can, share with others. But I'm not doing this for money and work life balance. Because if I was, one, I would have stuck with my original job. I was in finance, had a great work life balance, was making great money, it was a really enjoyable work life, except for I was missing that passion, that pursuit, that, bigger idea. And furthermore, again, if it was about the money, I would have just stuck to a regional restaurant chain concept. I would just have stuck in Sacramento. There's chains here that are worth tens of millions of dollars. Some of them, I think one of them probably sold for somewhere in the nine figures recently, and they're just in Sacramento. Because that's a lot easier operationally. But it's like we look at our Instagram every day, whether it's comments, DMs, and they're like, come to Charleston, come to LA, come to Austin, Texas, Miami. And it's like, we want to deliver this experience to people because we know if somebody else does it, they're not going to do it all the way, just the best way that we know we can. And at the end of the day, people want consistency too, right? When they eat at Tallow, right, they want to know that when they go to the Tallow in Miami, they're going to have the exact same experience as the one in Texas or the one in California. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's made it a lot more difficult for us not coming from the restaurant industry, but I think it was a necessary kind of step in the process.
Yeah, because it's coming from you also living your lifestyle this way. You're not just another person that's like, okay, like let's throw some tallow on stuff. Like to me, at least what I'm observing, it seems like you live this healthy lifestyle and you're wanting to make changes. Do you see, well, this is kind of, a couple questions. Do you see other restaurants going down this way and actually swapping them out? Or do you see yourself, and this can be an or an and not just an or, but like also like branching out, like how do you then like either open up more of your own, or like what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah. So, my opinion on kind of how the lay of the land will look over the next few years is you're going to have the kind of grifters, the ones that tallow bait, right? They just throw tallow on the menu, do nothing else. Maybe their fries are still even coated in other ingredients and pre-fried in vegetable or seed oils. Then you're going to have I think you're going to have a lot of burger chains. I know there's one on the East Coast. I think it's called like Burger and Butcher or something like that, or Butcher and Burger, something like that, where they actually seem to be doing it the right way. Actually 100% tallow French fries, a grass-fed beef burger. I don't know if it's 100% grass-fed or pasture-raised or the other important things on, but they're really trying their buns. Don't have seed oils in them, and I think you're going to see that because for burger restaurants, it's overall a much easier process to replace all those seed oils in their kitchen operations. So I think you're going to see a lot of that, and then I do think doing our categories is difficult. There is so much extra like operational procedures we have to do to deliver this kind of fast casual menu where we're offering more than just a simple burger and fries, but we're also keeping the price within a reasonable range, and we're making it quick. There's a lot that goes into that, and where I do see though there being a lot of people that are going to do it the right way is like the True Food Kitchens of the world, where it's a full sit down dining experience. Your meal is going to be much more expensive, but they seem to be at least trending in the right direction. Really no seed oils, very like paleo, whole ingredients. So I've never been there and dined myself, but it seems they've got the right intentions. Their founder, following him a little bit, seems like he knows exactly what he's doing. And it's a lot easier that way, right? Because you're using these premium ingredients, and you can justify it because your menu prices, people expect them to be higher for a full sit down, casual dining experience. Whereas we don't really have that luxury, right? You don't want to go spend $35 on one plate, for a quick work lunch, right? Or a, convenient meal out with your family. So that's kind of how I see the landscape is you're going to have some grifters. You're going to have the burger restaurants that switch just because it's a fairly simple way of implementing it. And then you'll have, I think, True Food and some other, regional, local spots that really make the full step.
And is True Foods, I feel like I might have been there. Is it Dr. Andrew Weil or Weil? Is that his place? Or maybe I'm
No,
thinking of something
I
else.
think the founder, I forget his first, is it Jason Karp? I think his Instagram handles like Human Carp, Karp. He was like the founder of Hue Chocolate, HU.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And so
yeah.
he's gotten into a few things in the health space, and that chocolate is phenomenal, and the ingredients are awesome. So I don't know if the guy you mentioned is involved or not, but
Okay. I might be thinking of a different restaurant. Um, so what's your plans on like expansion? Like how do you even do that? How do we help support you? Are you going to franchise? Like how do we get you in, all the states?
that's been the $1 billion question we've been wrestling with. So we just closed our first funding round, and essentially how I see it is that we're gonna launch our first full scale permanent location in Venice this April, which we just announced. We're gonna get that dialed in. Basically, kind of hopefully prove what a success it'll be, and then raise a big round and spread across the country because that's our goal. We don't want to just stay in California. We want to get to Scottsdale. We want to get to Austin, Nashville, Miami, the kind of hotbeds for this movement of people who would support us. So how we do that is a good question. Franchising has been something we receive a lot of franchising requests, and it's so flattering. It's so cool because what does make us curious and tempted to kind of pursue that model is the idea of like, we want to give people who also, live this way of life and are in this movement, a slice of the pie, right? Like we have a family friend who they own a ton of McDonald's franchises here in California. And regardless of what you think about McDonald's, what was really cool was like the story was like, his grandpa convinced Ray Kroc like back in the 60s or whatever it was to let him open a franchise, even though he was like underqualified, and he really bought into the brand. And next thing you know, they have like 45 locations, and it's this family, and all the brothers and cousins all work to manage this, chain of restaurants. And they had this passion, which I didn't know there was any like really passionate owners of McDonald's. But it was just so cool, this like family legacy that was built in this brand. I'm like, if any brand is going to have that, it's ours. It's this movement where it's literally like life and death to people like us, right? It's this this idea of like nourishing your body and healing your body and promoting health and changing people's lives. And so that's where like doing a franchise model would be so cool. Easier said than done though, because there's the obvious like quality risk, there's the customer experience risk, um, and the amount of operational well, what do you the amount of operational kind of stress and time and infrastructure it would take for me to implement a franchise model is honestly not that much less than if we just expanded corporate stores. The biggest thing in business is just your access to capital, which I think we'll have. So as long as we have that, I think it's better just for the restaurant to expand corporate owned. But we've been looking at some ideas. We've talked to some other influencers who are really interested about doing some sort of like regional partners where you can invest in a store, but we still handle all the operations. You don't have to be an actual restaurateur to manage a franchise, because that's the other thing. Like, if we really wanted to franchise, you know, it's very rare to find someone like yourself who might have restaurant experience, be in the movement, and potentially have the actual capital to open a franchise, right? And so really you narrow yourself down to these franchise owners that promote and own all these Taco Bells and McDonald's, and it's like, that's not who I want to have a slice of this pie. Like, it doesn't make sense. So we're working on some ways to like get everyone in the movement that for the most part wants to be involved. Now, some easy ways are going public down the road, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But we're going to expand quick, and we're going to expand beyond California very fast. I think over these next 2 years, you'll see us all through the Southwest, and hopefully over to the East Coast in the next 2 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And just not that you need peace of mind from me, but I'm very intuitive and I have such a good feeling about this. Like it's going to be amazing. And I see
I
the
appreciate
comments. I
that.
think I see people sharing, like people are excited. Like I'm excited. Like I think this
Yeah.
is what we need. And yes, there's the whole movement behind it too that, people want to support that and want to get that message out and have those healthy options and not and it's so much more than just the tallow too. It's the whole lifestyle behind it and wanting to help, make America healthy again, essentially, and doing more than the tallow. Like I saw that you guys are going to have like no plastic cutting boards. And so what are the other little things you're going to be implementing in there that would, help our health?
Yeah, you bet. So no seed oils is the biggest, most obvious one. All of our meats are going to be 100%. Well, our beef is going to be 100% grass fed, grass finished, pasture raised, regenerative practices, the top of the line beef that you can get. Our chicken is going to be 100% pasture raised. And we're working right now to find 100% corn and soy free chicken, because with chicken, as some of your listeners probably already know, when they eat corn and soy, because they don't have rumens like cows, or sheeps or anything like that, the kind of fats that they're getting from the corn and soy end up being stored in their own fat tissue. And so, whereas technically a feedlot cow, if they're being fed corn, it's not good, but it's not the end of the world, because the cow is able to convert that to the saturated fats that you and I need. But ultimately, the chicken will store those polyunsaturated fats in their tissue. So that's something we're really focused on. We're going to be rolling out some high quality pork in the. So the pork, as I was saying, is really strict standards on the pork, because it's notorious for being the worst farmed, worst raised animal out there, from the conditions they live in to what they're fed. So that's something where we think we have a really good supplier that can supply us at scale. So it might be a fun new offering to roll out in the future. But besides our meat, we use, I'm not sure if I covered it, but a reverse osmosis water in our recipes. So, with our rice, where it absorbs all the water, that's going to be all RO filtered water. All of our ingredients are pretty much organic, except for a few that we're having trouble sourcing currently, such as avocados. The thing about avocados is they're like the number one least contaminated by pesticides on the Clean 15 list. I think they did a test, and it was less than 2% of conventional avocados had any trace whatsoever of pesticide on on the shell of the avocado. So we do our due diligence there. You'll never see a gum, xanthan gum, carrageenan, natural flavors. You'll never find any of that. And I mean, there's so many other things. We don't we don't use aluminum foil. We don't cook things on aluminum baking sheets. We don't. I mean, it's a long list, right? We're trying to get rid of aluminum cans that are lined with, even though a lot of them have moved away from BPA lined plastic on the inside. It's still not great, and oftentimes the acidic foods that are in these cans, whether it's tomatoes or fruits, they're going to be leaching those chemicals. So we're trying to get rid of those as much as we can. It's very difficult. But yeah, our whole thing is, and we are 100% gluten free. My wife has celiac, so that was a big thing for us. Where just in our style of menu, we didn't see the need to offer any glutinous product. Although I think there are quality products that contain gluten out there. If you get a 3-day fermented sourdough loaf, that uses einkorn wheat and stuff like that, but it just didn't fit into our things. We'd rather create a space where, gluten intolerant people can come and just don't have to worry about cross contamination. So we've really tried to think of everything. And like I said, we're not going to stop until everything is, I hate to use the word perfect, but almost done to perfection. And so, yeah, that's kind of our mission on that. We're trying to create not only clean food, but a clean kitchen. There's also disinfectants that restaurants use on tableware and plates, and you wouldn't believe the kind of things that they want you and require you to submerge your dishes in. You're talking chlorine bleach is the final one of the approved final sanitation chemicals that they soak plates in, pull it out, and you must air dry them. So literally the chlorine bleach is just sitting there on the plate. You're not even allowed to technically rinse it after. So it's, there's a lot of things that we're looking to fix in the restaurant industry.
Yeah, yeah, because I worked in restaurants. I remember dipping the cutting board in whatever that solution is, and then you put it up to dry, a plastic cutting board. And so I don't know, did we touch on plastics? This is our third time, you guys, going over this. I lost power. So he has had to repeat himself a few times, and I don't know if the plastic got in.
Yeah, real quick, I'll cover it. So no plastic cutting boards. We don't store any food in plastic, and we don't marinate or cook in plastic. So, I was saying Chipotle, they're famous for sous videing their meats. Well, when you sous vide meats, they're sous videing it in hot water in a cheap plastic bag with acidic marinade on the inside. And so no wonder why when they did the test, the Chipotle burrito came back with like some of the highest contents of phthalates found in a Chipotle burrito. It immediately wouldn't be too obvious why, but then when you figure that out, it's like the two big no-nos with plastics are heat and acidity. That's what causes the phthalates to leach out. So, yeah, when it comes to plastics, honestly, over this last year, I've become more and more convinced that I'm more concerned about phthalates and plastic contamination than I am even of pesticides in what they're feeding animals, or maybe not on the produce. I definitely that's like a big no still, but it's up there. The plastics are real, they're not good. We got to get the microplastics out of our food system.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, I mean, you guys are, I feel like I'd probably be safer eating at your restaurant than my home. Like you guys are like doing all the right things.
Well said. I mean, that's our goal. Like our friends know we're paranoid about like how we eat at home, and that's ultimately like what we want to do. Like if we, if our family and friends look at us as kind of, the experts of what is not toxic to us, right? Or what is toxic to us, we want to take that same expertise to the restaurant. Just like, if you go to a fine dining restaurant, you're going there for their expertise of flavors and presentation. And well, our whole philosophy is we want you to come for the expertise of, we will go to, yeah, like you said, more extremes than you would even in your home kitchen to promote health. So, and it goes beyond our food, our restaurant spaces. We're working with some really cool companies right now to try and bring biologically safe lighting Lighting that is non-flickering LEDs that mimics the natural circadian rhythms. So we really take this holistic approach of, a naturalist way of going about life kind of in the modern world.
That's actually a really good idea. I mean, you could even have all your light bulbs red. Like we could get some LED, like or not LED. What is it? The red light
The
control.
well, there's like incandescent, which is like the old style of light bulb. That's like, I think it's like, it's not, you're allowed to own them, but you're not allowed, they can't sell them in California. So you have to buy them from like international companies. But there's some new tech out there where they're basically taking LED bulbs, changing the technology a bit to where it mimics a, incandescent bulb or natural light. So yeah, there's a lot of things there, and it's going to be a fun process, and hopefully we can work alongside our customers, to not only help them, or for them to help us like understand, like, hey, you guys could improve here, you're not doing this, like, and we go, oh, you're right, like we totally should, or just also getting their opinion on, like, what they value more, because there are some things in life that require trade-offs, and so it'd be nice to know what our customers value most. And so hopefully it's a collaborative effort.
Yeah, no, it sounds really cool. You could have saunas in the bathroom. You could have a cold plunge out in like the back parking lot. Like it could be like a whole thing.
Our first location is actually, it is going to have cold plunges
Oh,
and
really?
a 15-person sauna truck, at the facility. So you'll be seeing
Amazing.
lots of that on social, and yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a
That's
fun time.
cool. And that's going to be in Venice, right?
In Venice, yeah. So Venice is opening this April, probably late April. Worst case, maybe first week of May, but late April. And then we have a Costa Mesa location that is underway, and we're just waiting on some like kind of legal proceedings and timelines, so we know the exact date. But we're hoping like July, August for Costa Mesa, and that'll be a big like flagship location. So that'll be a fun one.
Okay, well that's amazing. Have you said or can you say like where exactly in Costa Mesa?
Not yet, because we haven't inked the lease yet.
Okay.
So got to kind of keep it close to the vest for now. But or I'm hoping, we're hoping in the next couple of weeks here we'll have a signed lease.
Okay, good, because that's close enough to me where we can come like a couple times a week, maybe.
Oh yeah, perfect.
That's
How long
exciting.
of a drive is it?
Um, Without traffic, maybe like 20 minutes or so, maybe
Oh,
25, depending on where. And
yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty smack dab in Costa Mesa. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we're excited for Orange County. Orange County, it's definitely by far the most mentioned area of where people want us, whether it's Costa Mesa, Newport, San Juan Capistrano, Dana Point, all those areas. So we're very excited to get to those see in the next couple of months here.
Yeah, I think it will do well, especially because Costa Mesa is by Newport Beach. So you have, all those health conscious rich people living there that will come spend their money. But yeah, even like
Yeah.
Dana Point is great. We have in Dana Point, it's they have two. It's Maison Cafe is one and Doheny Grill or whatever they call it, Doheny Cafe. They both don't use seed oils.
Oh,
They're on
great.
the Seed Oil Scout app. So yeah, and they seem to be
Awesome.
doing well. So there's
Great.
room for you guys down here. We want you to come down here. So I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But we've talked all about why you're not having seed oils and why you're doing tallow.
Mhm.
Why is that? Why should people not be consuming vegetable oils?
Yeah, so I'll do my best to explain. I'm not the most, I'm a secondhand scientist, so I'm regurgitating things from people I trust that make sense to me. But essentially, the first is, when you're unsure about something, you should always lean into what seems most natural from a you know evolutionarily historical perspective, right? So the process of making canola oil is insane. There's been quite a few videos that you can find on YouTube, Instagram. I encourage you guys to go look it up. They go through like, I don't know, it's like 12, I'm butchering it, but it's like, I think it's like 12 chemical processes where they're extracting this oil out of this seed, and it's soaked in hexane and all these super toxic chemicals. So that's the main that's the main, reason, the main no about it. The other thing is that, you know, they are comprised of a huge amount of linoleic acid. It's this polyunsaturated fat. And essentially, the school of thought, and again, until God himself comes down and tells us all, hey, this is what I designed you guys to eat. I will say, I don't think we'll ever know 100% proof. So you have to look at it from a variety of angles, right? The historical kind of common sense evolutionary perspective, the biological mechanisms of how these things work, and then obviously the anecdotal evidence, like what do you see the result in people? So obviously the easiest thing is just to look at what happened to American health since they implemented seed oils and since they became a huge part of our diet. Enough said there. And then you go into the carnivore communities, the animal-based communities, and you see everybody, curing things they said would never be cured. Lyme disease, arthritis. I'm sure you know the Jordan Peterson and Michaela Peterson stories with all their diseases. All the skin diseases, psoriasis, eczemas, going away instantly. They're losing tons of pounds. Their libido's back, their hair's grown back, you name it. And so there's kind of that angle, and sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there, but like the biological kind of mechanism explanation, what they think now is, essentially our body's not designed to consume high amounts of this linoleic acid, because essentially what happens, from my understanding, is it basically skips the signal pathway that tells your body you're satiated. And this linoleic acid gets stored almost instantly in I believe what's called your adipocytes, like your fat cells around your body. And what's interesting is, there may be a time and place for this, such as for animals that hibernate, because I'm pretty sure bears, they'll go on and they'll eat a ton of acorns and all these nuts and things that are high in these polyunsaturated fats leading up to their hibernation, where they're not going to be eating food. So their body needs stored energy in some sort of capacity. So I think my ultimate opinion on it is that if you could take away all the harmful chemical processing of these oils, right? If you could get a cold pressed, oil that was, high in linoleic acid, that inherently maybe it's not toxic to you, it's just not set up for how humans, live and how our bodies are designed, because we don't hibernate, right? A lot of us now, I guess maybe you can make the argument if you're a repetitive faster and you're not eating for a day at a time and you eat every other day or whatever, like maybe it could make sense. But I think when you pair all these three angles together, the fact of how much toxic chemicals are used in the processing of them, just how it doesn't make common sense. Like, why would we be consuming that? If we were hunter gatherers, you would never be eating that. I think you have a better argument of veganism than you do consuming seed oils, because at least, you would come across finding plants in the wild. And then you pair it with the anecdotal evidence and, the scientific explanations that support the hypothesis. That's kind of our approach. And so that's the long story of why you should avoid seed oils. There's plenty of studies showing the inflammation they cause, the weight gain. They're linked to depression and anxiety, and there's so much to point to. So I would advise people, if you're really interested, go check out Paul Saladino's stuff. He's probably the most public personality that goes deepest on seed oils. I know Alex Clark just had somebody on that went in deep on the seed oil research. And but yeah, hope that kind of gives people enough rabbit holes to go down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Thank you so much. Okay, so where can we find you on social media, and how can we support you for those that don't live nearby one of your restaurants? Like how can we help support you so you guys can grow?
Great. Yeah. So our socials are at Tallow Grill on Instagram and Twitter. And our website is tallowgrill.com. And then if you want to support us, obviously engage and share on social media. Let us know what cities you want to see us in, like, where in your hometown. And then we're going to be working on some initiatives. We're just now building out kind of our corporate team. So we'll work on some initiatives to build, real community followings in the cities we're not in yet. and then stay tuned because we're working on some on a tallow product that we'll be able to sell nationwide on our website, which will be the highest grade tallow you can find. So we'll be excited to roll that out. So I'd say those are the main ways. Just stay engaged, keep your eyes peeled, let us know where you want to see us, reshare our stuff, spread the word. Ultimately, that'll help us get to their city sooner.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm wearing a Irish butter sweatshirt right now. But we need some tallow sweatshirts. You guys need
I
some good merch.
I love that. I love that. Yes, we are working on the merch designs right now. We're gonna roll out a whole new line of them. You can get our seed oil suck shirts on our website. Right now they're in low supply, but we will be rolling out some fun new lines of clothing. So I love your sweatshirt. That you're I was looking at that. I'm like, oh, you're giving me some ideas that I want to roll out. So
Yeah, no, the seed oils suck. Well, I saw like, is it like your employees wear those shirts then, right? That are working
yeah,
there?
yeah, our employees were wearing them. I was sporting it everywhere. It was kind of our I guess our dog whistle to the Maha movement. And I when we first started, a little side story, I actually went to like a really busy intersection in Folsom, California, and had a sign that said "honk if you hate seed oils." And I was walking around there for like 3 hours holding up this sign, and we were getting so many people honking, like, "Oh yeah, I'll be there," blah blah blah. And people really resonate with it. It's a fun way to kind of engage and put your beliefs out there. And yeah, so those are available.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like this is going to be the year of tallow. It's a small change that somebody can make, to better their health. They don't need to be low carb, carnivore, keto if they don't want to be, but that could be, a big change they could make, or a small change that would impact their life in a big way. So I definitely like feel that like movement happening, and it's trending, if you will, on social media. You guys should get on TikTok. I feel like you could do well on TikTok, especially like the whole seed oil thing. Like people will grasp onto that for sure.
Uh, I agree. It's a platform we've neglected a little bit. I actually don't even know if our most recent videos have been posting on there. I'll have to. We just onboarded a new director of marketing because my wife was the brains behind all of our Instagram branding, everything you see. She's the bomb. She's the best. But she's a mom first, and so her bandwidth was dwindling. And so yeah, we'll work on making sure we're on all the platforms over these next few weeks.
Yeah, I just know with like TikTok, they'll have that like cult following, and they'll definitely like they can. It's so toxic on one hand, but it's also like very passionate. So I could see
Yeah.
it going well for you guys too. So I'm excited for you guys. I can't wait. I'll probably honestly drive up to the Venice location when it opens, because that's like a
Please
little over
do.
an hour from me. I don't think I can wait till the Costa Mesa one opens.
Don't
So
wait. You got to get out and see. It's going to be. We're planning some fun. We're going to have. We're talking with Seed Oil Scout right now. They're going to be on the ground for our opening, and we've got some really cool influencers, and they're going to show up, and it's going to be fun. Our goal is we want to make it, you know, not just big for our community. We want to make it like one of the most anticipated, biggest grand openings that has happened in California in a while. And I think we have a good chance at doing it. So it'll be a fun scene. It'll be fun.
yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today. I appreciate it.
Likewise. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I love your content. So keep it
Thank
up.
you. Thank you.